So today, we're going to dive into a phenomenon that really messes with your head. It totally blurs the line between the individual and the collective, where thousands, sometimes millions of animals can act with a single mind. Yeah, we're talking about the superorganism.
And that right there, that's the central mystery we're going to unpack. At what point does an individual animal stop being just an animal? When does a they become an it?
I mean, think about it like this. A single ant? It's pretty helpless, right? Vulnerable. But a colony? Well, that's a whole civilization. It builds cities, it farms, it even wages war. Or take an orca. One orca is a brilliant predator, no doubt. But a pod? That's a whole culture, a nation with its own distinct language passed down through generations. So what's the secret sauce? What's the formula that makes this incredible jump possible?
To find that formula, we've got to look beyond just the single animal. We need to see the incredible, complex social system it's a part of.
And the very first ingredient is specialization. See, for the collective to really work, you can't have everyone doing the same job. You need to build a society of specialists.
Now, the most extreme version of this is the caste system. We're talking about individuals who aren't just given a job, they are literally born for it, physically different. So you got to stop thinking of them as members of a team and think of them more like organs in a single body, each one with a totally unique form and function.
And this setup? Wow. It is unbelievably efficient. You have the queen, who is basically a dedicated reproductive engine. Then you have the workers, a massive workforce handling all the logistics, building, and childcare. And then you've got a specialized military class, built for defense. Every single role is totally distinct and absolutely critical for the colony to survive.
But here's the thing. This incredibly powerful idea of specialization isn't just for insects, not by a long shot. It's a fundamental rule of advanced social life that we see in really complex mammals too, like wolves.
A wolf pack, when you get right down to it, is a family. But it's a family with a super strict division of labor. You've got the dominant breeding pair, they're usually the only ones who have pups, and everyone else, from their older kids to other adults in the pack, they all act as helpers, pitching in with hunting and raising the young to make sure that the entire family line carries on.
Okay, so you've got all these specialists, right? But what's the point if they can't coordinate? A society of organs is pretty useless if the brain can't talk to the hands. They need a really sophisticated way to communicate.
And just think about the scale of this challenge. It's enormous. How do you get millions of individuals on the same page, often without making a single sound? The answer, it turns out, lies in some remarkably precise and complex communication systems.
You see, for an ant, the world is like a symphony of chemical signals called pheromones. A single ant can lay down a chemical trail that thousands of others can follow perfectly. They use different chemical words to tell friend from foe, or to scream danger. It's an entire complex language written in scent.
And then you have honeybees, and what they do is just, wow. It's this stunning form of symbolic language. The waggle dance gives super precise directions. The angle of the dance tells you the direction. How long the bee waggles tells you the distance, and how intensely it dances tells you how good the food is. It's not just a dance, it's a living, breathing map. It's a form of abstract communication we used to think only humans were capable of.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. For some animals, language isn't just instinct, it's culture. This quote about orcas gets right to the heart of it. Their communication actually evolves separately from their DNA.
And this is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Different family groups of orcas have their own unique dialects, their own languages. A baby orca learns its family's specific calls by listening to its mom and its relatives, just like a human kid learns to speak. And that means their languages can change and evolve over generations, totally separate from their biology. Incredible.
Okay, this brings us to the third and, honestly, the most profound rule of the superorganism. It's a behavior so bizarre, so counterintuitive, that it famously gave Charles Darwin himself a headache when he was first working out the theory of evolution.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. The engine of evolution is all about one thing: passing on your genes. So why on earth would natural selection favor a situation where an animal gives up its own chance to have kids? It seems to fly in the face of everything we know about evolution, right? It feels like a total evolutionary dead end.
Well, this whole phenomenon has a name: reproductive suppression. And it is the ultimate act of social cooperation. It's the decision, whether it's a conscious one or not, for a perfectly healthy, capable adult to step aside and help someone else have babies instead. And this is maintained through some pretty powerful means.
And the ways this is enforced, they're just wild. Sometimes it's just brute force. A dominant meerkat will literally bully and attack subordinates to stress them out so much they can't reproduce. Other times it's basically chemical warfare. A queen ant releases pheromones that make all her workers sterile. And sometimes it's a strategic, calculated choice. A subordinate wolf might hold off on reproducing just to avoid conflict and stay in the pack, because getting kicked out is a death sentence.
So here it is, the beautiful, elegant solution to Darwin's big puzzle. It's called inclusive fitness. That worker bee isn't having her own kids, but she's spending her life raising her sisters. That helper wolf is caring for his own nieces and nephews. By making sure their close relatives survive and reproduce, they are still passing on a huge percentage of their own genes to the next generation. They're just doing it indirectly. The family's genes survive, and in the end, that's all that matters.
So, let's put it all together. We have our 3 key ingredients: specialization, communication, and sacrifice. What is the final formula that actually creates a superorganism?
Here's the recipe. First, you create a society of specialists where everyone has a very specific job. Then, you give them a sophisticated secret language so they can all coordinate their actions perfectly. And finally, you bind them all together with the ultimate social glue, this idea of reproductive sacrifice, where the good of the group is more important than the individual's own drive to reproduce.
And when you have all 3 of those ingredients, something incredible, something totally new emerges. The whole becomes so much more than the sum of its parts. The colony isn't just a bunch of ants anymore. It is a single being that learns, explores, and survives as one. The line between me and us just dissolves.
And that's the big, mind-bending question I want to leave you with. If a group thinks and acts and lives as a single unit, is it still a group? Or has it actually become a new kind of individual? At what point does the we truly become an I? It's a thought that challenges our entire definition of what it means to be a self. Thanks for joining this explainer.